Hey, it's Dave here. I want to give you a little briefing on one of our design projects that was quite fun. We got approached by a team of founders that had a mix of expertise in the golf industry, and they wanted to create a great golf coaching app. We weren't golfers, so this was a new industry, but it came to us because it was a very complex problem of integrating AI and data into a seamless user experience, and that's kind of our specialty. So we started with the data set. One of the founders is an expert golf coach. He had built his own software to film golfers swinging in his studio, multiple cameras set up everywhere, and he had built a data set of what the perfect swing was. So he could look at the recording and see where your hands were traveling, and your hips, and your shoulders, and your head, and all these other things to sort of find the right changes, and he would then coach people into how to change their swing. The problem was what we were trying to do was move this into an app. So you're trying to put it in a phone. And so how do you take this phone here that doesn't have multiple cameras in a room, and how do you put it in any particular setting, and how do you still have the same ability to analyze someone's swing compared against an ideal one? And then there's a follow-on, which was, well, then what do you do in terms of coaching? Because in the founder's place, it was him looking at it, and he was an expert. He could give that coaching. It was all in his brain, this wonderful, big, beautiful human brain that had been watching golfers for decades. So how can we embed that inside of an app and give somebody a really seamless experience? Give them an idea of why they're changing, what the recommendations are, and what was behind it. So it was quite an interesting project, quite a lot of fun. But what I'll do now is walk you through it. So let's take a look. As with any project, the first step was understanding the overall user experience. How does a golfer approach golf? What kind of time do they want to be having their swing analyzed? Is it just when they're practicing? Is it when they're on the course, when they're playing? Do they want to be able to compare their swings against history? Do they want to compare them against their friends? Do they want to have some sort of competition? Do they want to compare themselves against their favorite pro golfer? So we did a lot of research, talking to a lot of golfers, visiting with them on the courses, watching them practice, understanding that overall flow. Next step was getting together with our friends at Noise, who specialize in sports apps, and we really love working with them. So that was a great partnership to bring them in. And we had to think through a lot of the sort of core technical challenges. What's the core technical architecture? Because we could dream up anything we wanted, but this was one where there was particular limitations and requirements that we needed out of the phone, as well as requirements that we needed out of the AI we were going to create. And so we worked through all of those challenges, and let's walk through what we came up with. So first step for anything is to get the phone ready, right? So how do you figure out how to record? You have a phone, you're standing, and it's on the grass, and you've got a golf club. You can't hold it while you're doing it. So we had to create a little system where the golfer could put the phone on a stand, and we had to get it set up so that the phone would calibrate. And so you can see here in the screens to help them understand where to put it, where to show it. Thought very carefully about making sure the fonts were really large, because the phone would be kind of a longer way away. And at least for a certain part of the golf industry, certain people might not have the greatest eyes, even me. So that was pretty interesting. We built a routine to help them understand how to change it, how you could calibrate it, how you could get it aligned correctly. So tilting it back, tilting it forward, trying to give them a lot of feedback to make sure that we were going to actually capture the video correctly. Then we also had some defaults where you say, okay, that's not right. All of those kinds of things, so that you know that you got it. We also worked in an integration so that you could get better feedback on your watch. That would be helpful if you have your phone all the way away at 6 feet away. It might be easier to look at your watch and say, oh, am I calibrated or not? So that integration between the iPhone and the watch was actually pretty key. And for that reason and some others, we actually ended up focusing just on iPhone. We figured out through data gathering that we had to have a few swings to be able to get a reliable data set. One swing could have, even for expert golfers, a single swing can have a slight variability. So we wanted to get a few swings to be able to average those together. and be able to have an accurate swing to analyze. One of the advantages we had is we had a data set that we could start with and bring into the app. And that was actually a huge win to be able to understand what the sort of perfect swing is. And it turns out that sort of body independent, certain channels of body movement are what generate the ideal swing and the most accurate and longest shots. So we were able to take that, which was quite complex in its original form, and bring it into a more simplified scoring system. And we thought that was going to be really helpful to help people just understand a simple number, right? This is an app experience. You're not looking for, a large, multi-page PDF analysis of your screen. You need to have something a bit simplified. So we built that in with a simplified score that people could dig into and understand what was behind the score. Now, this part was really fun. We actually converted the video of the person swinging, of the golfer swinging, into an avatar. And there's a couple things that went on here. One was we were able to leverage new technology in iOS that was working on motion capture, and that was a huge win. Companies that had done this before have had to build their own AI. We opted to really lever the OS because it's just a much better thing to be riding on Apple's engineering budget than driving your own if it can do what you need, and we found that it did. So converting into an avatar was technically possible. But why did we do this? The reason is that people don't want to see video of themselves because they just kind of are uncomfortable, or two, get distracted by the unimportant parts of the video. They're looking at how their clothes are draping, or what their hair looked like in the wind, or whether they feel good looking at their body bent over, swinging a golf club. They're looking at themselves with more of almost a vanity project aspect than it is about looking at the swing. So they're not looking at the shoulders as accurately, their hips movement, etc. They're thinking about themselves rather than the skeleton that we needed them to focus on. Translating into avatar was a big difference because we could actually have them just look at the body shape and the movement. We could also easily identify things like you can see here we have dots that show the key parts, the ankle and then the knee and the hips. All of these parts were important for people to understand. Now we also included a variety of ways of changing your avatar. So you could change the clothes, you could change body type, gender, you could change hair and hats and all kinds of things. And this was really based on the fact that a core part of our mission for this was to make golf and golf coaching more inclusive, more expansive. We were getting out of that sort of standard golfer category because beginner golfers turn out to be less white and less old and less male. So we wanted to make sure that those avatars allowed people to see them as they saw themselves, or see them as they felt like seeing themselves, kind of do whatever you wanted. Now this screen is showing you a lot of different analysis about how the swing was analyzed. We could take people through frame by frame, which is important because you need to be able to slow it down and see individual moments. And we could actually give them coaching live in the app screen itself. The comparison bits are definitely fun. So we could show them kind of where they were at the moment and where we were hoping that they would get to. So sort of who you are today, and then the coaching of where do we want you to be? What's the future you going to look like? And that's really helpful as a comparison to say, okay, this is how my shoulders move now. After my changes, this is how my shoulders are going to move. Golf is a sport. It is inherently competitive, and so one of the features that was pretty interesting to people was to be able to share their swings. So how do they capture this and share it with friends? How do they share it on social media? How do they show their progress? A lot of that was pretty important, and we did it all using the avatars because we felt like that was going to be the best experience for them, because people did actually just want to show the swing itself, not have videos of themselves. They could do that in other ways. But this was definitely a fun part of it. We also allowed them to compare themselves against pros. And so it's a great way for major golf coaches or pros to get involved from a social aspect, showing off their swings, showing videos of themselves, giving them coaching recommendations, being able to be true influencers in the experience was a really key way of hopefully getting expansion. Hope you enjoyed that run through. Thanks again to our friends at Noise, who were great to work with on this project. Reach out if you have any questions or any other projects you'd like to talk with us about.